When you install Scala on your computer, apart from few other things, you will get Scala C or a Scala compiler and Scala as a REPL environment. So let me type Scala over here in a terminal and we will see the Scala interpreter. This is the place where we can type expression and Scala will evaluate it and return us the result. Before we go further and type some expression over here, let me type this help and let's see what it will return. So help, and yeah, we get a list of commands over here. The, the important one for this the important one for us at this moment is this quiet command to exit the interpreter. Let's type this quiet command and let's see if it works or not. And yeah, we are successfully able to exit the interpreter. This is helpful to know because otherwise it might possible that we stuck in a in a REPL environment and we don't know how to go or how to come back to the normal shell. Okay, let me open the Scala REPL environment and now we will going to write some expression. Okay, so over here let's type a basic expression like 1 plus 1 and let's see what Scala will return us. And yeah, we get the result. So you see we get the result as a 2, but apart from the result we get some more information over here. This information give us some insight about the result. For example, the result 2 is a type of integer. It is saved inside the res0 variable and the variable is defined using a val keyword. Okay, so let me repeat this point again. In this line, we get the result 2 which has a type integer or int. The variable in which the 2 is saved is a response or res0 and response or res0 is a variable defined using a val keyword. This is the line that we get is how we can define a variable in a how we define a variable in a Scala. So let's try out. For example, I want to define a variable age. It will going to save my current age inside that variable. So like we know, we first need to type val, then name of the variable, for example age. After that I need to type colon and then type, which is in our case int, because that's what we know, right? And then we need to use the assignment operator or equal sign and then we can type, for example, the initial value like 29 and we just define the age as a variable in a Scala. So this is how you can define a variable in a Scala. And one more thing now you know is like one data type in a Scala, and that is int. I have a note over here next to my side so that I can I I will not miss anything over here. So that's the plan. Let's type one more. Expression, a basic expression like 3 by 2, and let's see what we will get. And we get the 1. The type of this result is integer, and based on this result you might guess that when we do an integer division we will get output as an integer division. Okay, like this. And you can see over here that we now have variable res1. So the idea is when you type some expression in a Scala interpreter or a Scala REPL environment, what will happen is Scala will automatically save the result of the expression inside a variable, and the name of the variable will be res followed by the increment number, for example 0, then 1, 2 and so on. Now back to this expression. If we want to get the exact result or the result in a floating point number, what we need to do is we either need to replace 3 with a 3.0 or 2 with a 2.0. For example, let me type 3 by 2.0. And if I type this, we get the correct result. You can see over here that we get 1.5 as a result. The type of 1.5 is a double and it is saved inside the res2 like res1, res0, res1, res2 and so on. With this expression in a Scala, now you know two data type in a Scala. One is integer and second is double. Okay, let's try this syntax. Let's say I want to define a variable. Let's say height, and we will going to save a floating point number inside this height variable. For example, well, the name of the variable which is a height, then colon. After that, I need to type data type which is in our case double, and the initial value, for example 6 feet and 2 inch. And now we define a variable with a data type double. Apart from these two data type, integer and double, you have few more number data type. If we specifically talk, we have a byte, then short, integer and long for the integer data type, and float and double for floating point number or decimal number. Apart from this, I assume that you already noticed that the first letter in a data type is a capital. This is how the type is defined in a Scala. I find this interesting because I have seen many programming language in which the data type are defined in a smaller letter, and suddenly string data type come and the S in a string is a capital. Whereas in a Scala, first letter for almost all the data type is capital. So sort of a consistency. Now this data type, right? Byte, short, integer, long, float, and double. Let's define few variable over here and do some practice. For example, let's define a grade variable. Grade. Then let's use the byte as a data type, and let's assign 8 as the initial value, and we define a grade variable. You might thinking like I am talking about variable and I am using a val keyword. It shouldn't be var keyword, or it should be a val keyword. You might think that this is a typo or something else. The answer is no, this is not a typo. You can use var keyword as well as a val keyword. But there is a difference. When you define a variable using a val keyword, the variable is immutable, or in other words, constants. But when you define a variable using a var keyword, it is a mutable variable. In other words, you can change the value of variable. For example, let me define a variable with var keyword, and let's say house number, and house number will be, let's say, short. Okay, and then let's assign 17027 a MongoDB port. So here I define a house number as a variable using a var keyword. Now let's say I want to change the value of the house number. For example, instead of 17027, let's assign a different value. Let's say 8, 9, 10. Redwood JS use this as a default port, and I'm able to successfully assign a different value to the variable which is defined using a var keyword. But if I do same for the variable that is defined using a val keyword, let's say grade, so grade equal to, let's say instead of 8, let's assign 9 value, we will get the error. Over here you can see that the reassignment to the val grade, and we get the error. You might notice that they mention like use this explain flag to get more explanation about this error. We will use this when we compile .scala files. Now few different data type. For example, byte, short, integer, long, then float and double. Apart from those data type, you also know the difference between the val and var keyword. There is one more thing that I would like to mention. If you define a variable with a val keyword or with var keyword, you must need to assign an initial value. Otherwise, Scala will throw error. Let me show you. Let's define a variable val, or let's say use var, and then select app version, and type of it is a int. If I do this, we get the error. Okay, what that means is we need to assign some initial value to the variable. Let me try the same with a val. For example, app here, and here will be 4 digits, so we can use sort, and let's define it, and again we get the error. I think the video is already long. Let's meet in the next video and we will talk about few more data type. uh, actually let's actually I'm going to create two video on data type, because I want to create a small video, not a big one, and I do not have a plan to bore you. So see you in the next video.